Hey everyone, welcome back to 7th Dungeon Delve Devlog. In this video I'll be showing you a fair amount of new content, including the level boss. But before I do, I just want to say, if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments. It would be great to hear what you think, because your feedback could really help sculpt this game into something people enjoy. Starting with the actual content now, one of the first things I want to show is the foot IK. This is more of a quality of life improvement, as before from certain angles it looked like the player and enemies were floating above the surface. But now, the foot placement and rotation is relative to the surface. And thankfully this was super easy to do with only 3 steps. The first step being enabling the IK pass on the animator. Then inside the onAnimator IK function, setting the IK position and rotation weight to 1. And inside the same function, setting the actual position and rotation of the feet, which I did based off a raycast hit point and normal. And that's all there is to it. Like I said, this was super easy to do, and it also led me to think that each footstep noise should be relative to the surface below. So I made this enum to identify each surface type the player could come across. How it works is, in an animation event function, a raycast gets the enum, then this switch statement plays a sound based off its type. By adding this and the IK system, movement of the player and enemies is more believable. Next up to show is the new level theme. I mentioned a couple devlogs back that the level 1 theme would be goblins, but I came to the conclusion this would be too exclusive and decided to expand it. So now the first level is sewer themed, and all the rooms have been redesigned to represent this. To add a little extra challenge to the game, all bodies of water are toxic to the player, but not the enemies. And whilst on the topic of challenge, rooms now lock themselves when the player first enters. It's a simple boolean based system which uses a trigger collider to detect the player, and only unlocks when the enemies that the room created are dead. Last up is the level boss, the giant worm. Since the theme has shifted, I thought it'd be cool to experiment with another monster. So I grabbed this monster asset from Infinity PBR. I'll pop a link in the description if you'd like to check them out yourselves. Now, I did have a cool little cutscene showing how the boss got here, but it's still in development. So instead I'll show you some gameplay and give you a breakdown of what you can expect. The worm has 4 moves in total. The first being a bite, which is a high damage attack when the player gets too close. The second move is a roll attack, which has a greater range than the bite, but can only occur when the worm isn't too close to the walls. The third move is this ranged toxic spray, which like all the water, burns the player. This attack is aimed at below the player so that he can still jump out the way if you're quick enough. The last move is this hide and reappear ability. It is used to either move away from or closer to the player depending on the circumstance. This ability uses these nodes to determine where it can move. These same nodes also determine whether the worm can use the roll attack. The only rule when moving is that it cannot choose the same node as its current. This is just to keep the player moving about. After performing moves, the boss enters a cooldown. By default this is 2 seconds of idleness, but as the worm becomes more damaged, this cooldown shortens. This works by calculating the worm's health percentage and multiplying it against the base attack interval, then divided by 100. Originally I did have a minimum cap this cooldown had to be, but through testing, combat felt more fluid without the cap. When they've been added, killing this boss will allow players to progress to the next level. But for now that's all there is to this boss and the content I have to show. Like I said, feedback is appreciated, and for the next devlog I'll be working on creating a better stat system and polishing stuff that's gone into this first level. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.